The thoughts and views of this podcast and the sole views of the curators of this podcast is not the views of United States Postal Service.
How does he do it? Do it.
All right, here we are. This is On the Route podcast, our first episode 1. You know what I'm saying? We're going to start this thing off right. It's a podcast for mail carriers, created by mail carriers, co-rated by mail carriers. And we talk mostly to mail carriers. But anybody else is welcome to listen to us. It's all good. We're pretty much going to be talking about things with the post office every time we get on for about 20 minutes. Then we'll slide into, what's going on in sports, because we're all guys. We like sports. A lot of people like sports too. And then third, that'll be about 20 minutes. Then the third segment, which is the last 20 minutes, which will be talking about pop culture in general. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what you can expect from the On the Route podcast. Talking about the post office, talking about sports, and talking about pop culture. You know what I mean? Just something for our fellow carriers out there, our fellow people in the post office, have something to listen to they can relate to. So on my right over here, holding down mic 2, I'm gonna let him say what he got to say,
Welcome to On the Rock Podcast. I'm Aaron. It's a pleasure to do this with my brothers from the post office. We got some real entertaining topics for y'all, and let's have some fun.
This is Black. You're On the Route podcast. I'm just happy to do something other than deliver mail. You heard?
It's On the Route. It's be more, be more doing a lot of crazy stuff, saying a lot of things. But you know what it is.
All right, there you go. That's what you got. So we're going to get into this first segment talking about the post office. And I figure, this episode, we start off talking about, what other than, the Postmaster General, the guy who's in charge of the entire post office. If you don't know who that is, his name is Louis DeJoy. He's a registered Republican voter. He's a businessman. He started his own, he had a trucking company that he got from his family, and that he actually did a deal with back in the 1990s with the post office to help grow the company to a really big company. I believe it was called New Breed Linguistics back then, and I think logistics. And then he sold it to someone else, and it's now called XPO. And I think he sold it for about $615 million. That's what he walked away with. So I thought we would start talking about him because I just found it odd that someone would take a job that pays you, I think, roughly just over $300,000 a year to do, and you're worth 3 times that. You know what I mean? Like, mostly when people do a job, they do a job because either the money's good. You know what I mean? The benefits, health insurance, all that good stuff. Usually when you do a job when you don't need the money, it's because it's a passion. It's something that you love to do. Like, it's something that you dreamed about. So the money thing is like kind of a second aspect to it. I very much doubt that, because I believe he's 65 years old. I very much doubt that he, this was his dream job to pick up at age 62. You know what I mean? I don't think this was the job that he thought about as a kid. I want to be a mail person. I want to run a post office. So my thing is, what is his motive? Like, it has to be some type of ulterior motive to want to take this position when you clearly don't need it for the paycheck. So I'm going to let, one of you guys take the floor with that. Whoever wants to do it, you know what I mean? I'll start with Aaron.
Well, I got a question. So what would be the ulterior motive? Is it a favor? Is it positioning, trying to get to a higher level? What you guys think?
I think it's more along the lines of maybe because of the relationship he had with the post office prior to now, which was in the 90s, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So with the relationship he had in the 90s, the image of the post office in that time period was different, and maybe in his eyes was better compared to now. So maybe that has a lot to do with it, or like Aaron said, maybe it's a favor.
Or it also be that he wants to go private side basically and kind of make sure he has it for benefit. Like, so the profit is on. Like I said, he is a friend with Trump basically. So like you're in bed with somebody like that wants to privatize the post office. So my thing is, why not? Like I said, the post office is kind of dismantling at this point right now. So the thing is, why not take advantage of where it's at its lowest point right now? So I can privatize, I can make money of it, and I can sell it to people I need to.
Well, what would make you guys think that it's probably at its lowest point? Like, you know what I mean? As far as like what Brandon just said like a minute ago.
I would say the overall morale, speaking as mail carriers, the overall morale of carriers around the country, like you can see it on social media, you can see it within the office, and basically the outcome of the customer's experience with the post office. A lot of people had complaints about they didn't get their mail or certain packages, et cetera, et cetera. So whenever you got like a lot of negative things happening at once, you got to figure out what's going on, what's some new things to try, you know, because I think a lot of y'all out there will say, especially mail carriers, like, we need a revamp on uniforms, on, you know, just logistics in general, like the trucks, LOVs, et cetera, et cetera.
I agree with that, but I also think it's more along the lines of, I guess, the personnel, the kind of people that are in the post office, the volume of people is not enough. And then the volume of mail has significantly dropped. So I think it's probably around that.
What I feel about the post office, it starts with your personnel, like go on top of that. Like you said, it depends who's running. Basically, you have to have like-minded people that think with it. At the end of the day, the carriers run the station, basically runs the thing. Like, and then we have to come together. If we not on the same cohesiveness at the end of the day, then everything's going to dismantle because you need us. At the end of the day, we are the backbone of the post office. Everything starts with us. Yeah, we don't go out there and do it. Who else is going to do it? And nobody, like I said, like the old saying, nobody really wants this job because this is not our father's or our grandfather's post office anymore. This is social media post office. You got to get with the time. As they say, get with the program. If not, sink or swim.
Yeah, and it's funny that you brought up the social media aspect because right now, like the post office is having like a hard time, like hiring people, trying to get people to want to be in the post office. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think because of social media that people found out exactly what goes on in this job without even being in it. You know what I mean? When you have platforms like Reddit, you know what I mean, where you can go on Reddit and you can just listen to mail carriers talk about their experience as being mail carriers. And then people like to tell you in Reddit like how they've been doing this for 15 years, 16 years, 17 years, and they're dealing with this, that, and the third. And you being somebody that's thinking about getting into the job, you hear that somebody has 20 years in is dealing with something you wouldn't expect them to have to deal with. It might make you not want to do it probably. Because I noticed, like, at least in Philadelphia, because that's the city that we all carry mail in, we've been having job fairs, like, you know, month to month, trying to get people to come in, like, and not many people are showing up. like they trying to offer free donuts, they're trying to put pretzels out there and water, coffee, and it's just pretty much the staff standing there just looking at people walk by them. Because people just don't want nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? I just think that's just a funny aspect. And I wonder, how does DeJoy feel about the numbers? Because, you know, the average mail carrier, I believe, is like around 54 years old or something like that. So that generation is about to, like, go out the window. You know what I mean? If one of you guys want to elaborate, you know what I mean? Like, whoever wants the floor.
I'll elaborate.
Okay.
The average carrier right now basically is between the ages of maybe 21 to maybe 50, like you said. And the thing is, the people that's still doing the job now, 54, they're only reason they're around because of healthcare. If healthcare wasn't around, they've been retired. So my thing is, you got people like that holding up positions for young carriers to stride. And it's like, if the younger carrier has nothing to look forward to in the future because I got somebody that's holding on for dear life of healthcare, what are we going to do in the day? Like, it's no way.
So I got a question for y'all. What do you think will make the post office better for not only us carriers, but customers as well?
I would say make it better for carriers. Like you said before, I would say about your uniforms. They need to have way better uniforms because this is atrocious. It hurt. Like the footwear hurts your feet. It don't last long. 6 months, you need another pair. The rain jackets, once his rip is done, and we going on railings, we near rocks. You rub into stuff, mail touches it, like stuff gets old, and when it gets old, it's like you got to get another one. But they're so expensive. One, you need to lower the price to the uniform. Like we're getting them from y'all, by y'all. Why don't y'all just give them to us? And then two, you need to have some kind of relationship with a company where you won't have these problems like Nike, like Reebok, like Under Armour. Like this stuff lasts, and you want people wearing that stuff just because your stuff don't last. So I would say uniforms obviously pay. Everybody knows that. And then to make customers happy, you have to structure a new formula. Because the formula they got now is not working. The formula as far as the routes, because the volume of routes and how far you're walking on these routes in certain neighborhoods is atrocious. Because some routes have 300 deliveries and some routes have 1,100 deliveries. Like that's crazy versus having 14 blocks and 22 blocks.
Yeah, speaking on that,
crazy.
So like you said, as far as like this uniforms, why can't you guys say some of the tops of the deal make with Nike, like you said? You know what sponsorship you get basically is and how much profit it would be like if you make a deal with Nike or someone like saying, look, I got this sneakerhead deal for the post office. Like that'll inspire people to do more. Like, look, I'm proud to be a postal worker. I'm proud what I got on. Like we look like the same thing. We got these old rinky-dinky grandpa uniforms, like you said. My feet end up
from the 60s.
From the 60s, yeah, from 1960s. Like it's worn down. Like nobody cares about it. Like you have to. So it's like my thing is you gotta get with time, like I said. The thing is, like, even with footwear, like you said, nobody wants to do that. You guys all looking with combat boots, black and all. I'm like, have some style, have some creativity. And I feel like up top has no creativity. It has nobody like-minded or young-minded. Everybody's older up there.
And it's funny that you said that, because when you were saying that, I was thinking, I'm like, the reason why we don't do the smart thing of having, like, Nike or Under Armour, one of these companies that make our clothes, is because the people that are running the post office at this point are pretty much out of touch. They're either baby boomer generation or that first series of Generation X, where they're like in their like 50s now. And let's just be frank, like I don't want to make it racy, but if you look at the board of governors, like there's no minorities, there's no women, there's no, they're all Caucasian men who probably know nothing about what culture America is into right now. And the fact is, you want the newer generation to be mail carriers, you have to kind of conform to what they're into to get them to buy in to do the job. You know what I mean? Like you can't just run this the way it was when you were 20 years old, 30 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what it is. And like, and it's just funny because this was a job that was only exclusively for people that were in the military and the service. And it wasn't really a lot of black and brown people that were getting opportunities like 50 years ago to do this job. So to see the rate that it's changing just goes to show the people who are coming from the bottom that recognize an opportunity and they're not scared to work for it. You know what I mean? Because they want their piece of the American dream, and this looks like a way that they could probably get to it. You know what I mean? And it goes to show you that notion of privilege that a lot of people talk about, that certain classes of people have in this country, and you can tell by their lack of work ethic or their lack of enthusiasm to want to, I guess, quote unquote, get their hands dirty and try to get the American dream. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of evident.
I think that we were always willing to do the job and always able to do the job, but there was always a wall there, so we couldn't get there. Mm-hmm. And then too, a lot of those, Caucasian men we talk about that had this job 50 years ago don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to do the job, whether it be because of the pay or like the uniforms we talked about, or be just how the business is structured, or people are just getting older and retiring, and the next generation is just like, I'm not doing what my dad did or my grandfather did. I want to do something different.
Or management.
Yeah, or management. You're right.
Yeah, so like I said, or management, because let's just be real, like management is lacking.
Oh yeah.
Yo, there's people in management that don't know how to manage, don't know how to lead. Like y'all can go further on it, but this is bad.
Yeah, it's bad because managers don't know how to be managers, and they don't know how to be managers because they didn't take the class, or they they don't have the updated material that they need to be the manager that needs to be in a post office. One, and then two, a lot of these people are just don't get it as far as the employees that are under them. Instead of to me, the best way to manage is to understand your personnel and the people that are under you, so you can know how to better use them. But they're taking orders from people above them to tell them what to do about the people below them, and the people above them don't know the personnel.
And also, the thing is, management, you got to tell upper management, like, let me run my station today. Like I said, the overseers don't know what's going on with the office. So, just like anybody say, keep everything private within home, basically. Stay within homes in home. Like, you don't have to go up and tell up top everything. Like, if you run your stuff properly to the point where you have a relationship with your carriers and you understand it, basically.
It's how you talk to them.
How you talk to them, it benefits a lot better, basically, because at the end of the day, we're human beings today. Nobody's a child here. Nobody's none of that. Basically, communicating like a man to man, woman to woman, regardless of neither be. But it's like, this is the job here. The job's easy to do. Don't make the job harder than it has to be for anybody else. The job is simple. It's simplicity.
That also comes from the people up top, like the people that's overseeing them. Because what they like to do is they like to put management against their employees when we really should be working together as one unison to provide a good product. But I mean, that's just the part of the divide and conquer culture that America is built on.
Divide and conquer, okay. Hey.
But also, that's once again to Rick's point a minute ago about the era, the baby boomer era. Those people are stuck with a certain mindset and a certain structure that they're trying to continue to push, and it doesn't work anymore because the people in the job are different. That you can't talk to the people the same way you did 50 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago. You can't do that anymore.
I mean, yeah, because, I mean, let's be honest. Like, you can tell, like, a lot of people before, like, the pandemic, like, the people that were, because the staff has completely changed, I think, at the top for the most part. Because when DeJoy took over, I think, like, 2 guys that were underneath him stepped down. They just like, resigned. They just didn't want to work with the dude. You know what I mean? Which to me was kind of like a red flag right there, because it was like, what's the problem? Like, you know what I mean? Why would you just walk away from the table now if you don't want to be a part of this, I guess, quote unquote, new regime? But you could tell the person, like I said, I'm not trying to be an ageist or anything like that, but you could tell the person that did the Amazon deal has no clue about business, had no clue about what probably DeJoy knows about or what Trump knew about when he was president. You know what I mean? Because, like, just the way the deal was structured, it was horrible.
Can you elaborate on the Amazon deal?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, like, the way the post office did the deal was, instead of like how UPS and FedEx did it, you know, and implies, by all means, anybody who's listening to the podcast, if you have something to add to this part, just put it in the comments below on SoundCloud, put it in the comments below and YouTube, because we'll have a YouTube channel up for this as well. But yeah, so how the post office did it was completely different from UPS and FedEx. Like, FedEx usually charges you per package. We just did a flat rate saying that we'll only charge you this for what you give us. So no matter how much of the quantity we got, it was still the same price, which was idiotic, because that was just like you not understanding the potential growth of this company. And they made out like bandits, because who wouldn't take that deal as a company like Amazon, where, okay, well, I can send you 1 million packages a week and you're only going to charge me X amount of dollars, right? But what happens when I start sending you 10 million packages a week and I'm still paying the same price and I'm not paying by package? I'm making a killing now. Now I can reinvest into my company 100% without worrying about having to give you all this extra bread, because I'm getting slapped upside the head per package. Yep. The post office had an issue a couple years ago where we were asking for, what was it, $10 billion to bail ourselves out. You would never needed that if you would have did the deal per package with Amazon. And you didn't have to mirror UPS or FedEx. You could have undercut it by $5 or $10, and Amazon would have took it at that time, because they were still trying to. They didn't have the factories all the way yet. They didn't have all the big 18-wheelers yet. They didn't have their own delivery drivers yet. So they were at the mercy of the already established parcel companies. And that's how you could tell that was a horrible business deal that was negotiated. And there had to be somebody who only knows about mail carrier, clerk, mail handler related things in terms of the post office, not actual business savvy. I mean, so, you know, like, that's why I think one of the reasons why Trump put DeJoy in office, because when he became president, he looked at that contract and he was like, this is fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, he which is probably why he hated the post office so much. He's like, you guys have a monopoly on a business that nobody else can get into, because we're the only company that can do what we do, which is deliver letters and flats. And you guys are charging dirt cheap for stamps. You know what I mean? You guys are charging dirt cheap prices for priority first class. Frankly, you guys aren't even charging people to get mail, which I think. I mean, granted, I am definitely pro person, pro customer. You know what I mean? But we can't ignore the fact that, from an American business standpoint, if you were to charge everybody per $1, you know what I mean, per a year or $1 a month, we would never need a bailout from anybody. You know what I mean? Because what are people going to say? Oh, I'm not going to use mail anymore. No. But I'm going to let Black just go ahead.
Listen, man, he took the words right out of my mouth, man. I was waiting for that, man. I had that lined up. But yeah, man, the same thing, dog. If you charge people less than the cost to run Netflix, you would never have to worry about money. And I believe the reason why they did that deal with Amazon is because they didn't anticipate the package volume and the market for packages. I don't think they anticipated that. I think they feel as though they always will be able to rely on mail and stamps and post office boxes, and think they will always make their money from that. They didn't anticipate the mail volume getting lower, the magazine volume getting lower, and the door-to-door mail getting lower, and less people getting post office boxes, and then the package volume went through the roof. So with you having them pay this flat rate, it's like, man, I'm pretty sure they thought about it afterwards, but the deal was already done. Mm-hmm. So you get somebody like Trump that come in there and tell them, you messed up. So now, you can't, now you need a bailout. Now you don't have money. But like Rick said, if you would have charged everybody $1.99 a month, 99 cents from each person, you would have never needed money.
All right, I mean, so we going to probably cut it right there with the post office stuff. You know what I mean? But, anybody that's listening to this podcast, On the Route podcast, if you got anything you want to add, especially our fellow USPS employees, you know what I mean? Please leave it in the comments on the SoundCloud.com /On the Route. And you can also leave it on the YouTube page, YouTube.com /On the Route. We would definitely appreciate any likes, subscriptions, and just support, you know what I mean? From mail carriers to mail carriers, from mail carriers to mail carriers, from USPS people to USPS people. So the second segment we're going to get into is pretty much talking about just sports in general. But the one thing I wanted to bring up, I think, was John Morant recently got suspended for 2 games because he was brandishing a gun on IG Live while he was in a nightclub in Memphis. And before that, he got into a fist fight with a top ranked high school player over 17-year-old over basketball. And I'm just like, okay. And it seems like he's hanging around a different crowd now since he's got his max deal. He's trying to be a tough guy. Y'all saw the situation with him and Shannon Sharp and the Grizzly guys. So I'm gonna let the fellas just kind of tap in, you know what I mean, and just talk about what their perception is on it. You know what I mean? Go ahead, B.
I feel like this, man. If he wasn't that way when he came in the league, why portray that now? I understand you guys trying to have a tough guy image, maybe the bad boy stuff, but that was on the court. Having that now. You don't learn from your prior peers or your elderly people. That stuff doesn't carry, basically. My thing is, you're a black man in society right now. You're 23 years old, basically. You got membership. You got a deal with Nike. You got sponsors. All stuff. Why throw it off away just for an image that we're trying to get rid of, basically? They say, once you get out the league, you become part of a brotherhood. You're part of a brotherhood right now. Why throw that all away for this to be, I'm this and I'm hard, I'm who I am? That's not who you are, dude. You come from a good parents household, basically. Man, be who you are. Play on the court. If you want to show it the way, show it on the court. Don't show it off the court. You flashing the gun like the guy above the rim. You ain't just like that. You're not going to you ain't taking nobody down. Man, you ain't no shooter for real. I let that go. Leave that for the guys that do that, basically.
You got a point. Yeah, go ahead, Black.
I just think it's funny. But, yeah, what Brandon said, I agree with. But I actually thought about the situation when I heard about it. And I heard the young boy was 17 and he was, really athletic and a really good player. And I got to thinking, why would John Morant fight a 17-year-old?
That's a good question.
And I thought about it. I said, what would make him that angry to want to do that? Hey, yo. And I heard they were playing basketball.
He was getting cooked.
And in my hand, he was probably getting cooked.
As they say, whoop that trick.
He was probably getting cooked and got mad because, you know, it probably was some trash talk, basically, oh, you can't defend me, or you can't defend me either. And then John Morant probably couldn't do what he wanted to do, or what he could usually do to an NBA player, because in a one-on-one in street ball, ain't no rules, ain't no NBA rules. Ain't nothing, nigga, I can stop you the best way I know how. So, and then I believe he probably got mad, and then, you know, the altercation happened, and, you know, that is what it is. But as far as brandishing the gun online, like, my first thing was, you know, like I said to Rick earlier, I said, oh, what are the gun laws in Memphis? Yeah. And then I read that, you know, as far as the gun laws, you can have a gun, you can carry a gun or conceal without a permit at the age of 21, but you also can do it at the age of 18 if you were affiliated with the military. So I feel as though he broke some laws. I was wrong. He didn't break any laws, you know, thankfully. But you know, as far as everything else, and then the altercation he got in, was it Indiana with a security guard? Was it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I'm like, bruh. I said, only person I knew that had a lot of these problems off the floor was Allen Iverson.
Yeah, hey.
And then I'm like, I love Allen Iverson, and I'm like, you know, AI has some off the floor issues. You know, I love AI. You know, he's to me he's the man, but a lot of things he got in trouble for. A lot of things he wasn't there, but when I say that makes me think of the one and only Michael Beasley, who also had a lot of off the floor issues of a lot of situations. And, you know, I watched a documentary where he claimed he wasn't there. So a lot of these situations that are happening is because of the company you keep. And if you change the company around you, you will change who you are. So better company, better you.
Yeah, man. This is a pivotal moment for him. Because you can go right or left, you know. You want to go right, because left is you out the league. Like, you think back, Allen Iverson, Michael Beasley, even Carmelo Anthony, David Stern sat him down and said, yo, you want the NBA, you want the street life? It's the same question to John Morant. Right now, you got to really sit down, soul search, find out who he really is. Because I ain't going to lie, like, $200 million ain't worth me being around a bunch of people. Like, they don't got the best interest at heart for me. They just want something from me. Like, you the breadwinner. So
Act like it.
Yeah, act like it pretty much. So the average NBA career is 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's this, number 4 for him?
5.
Five?
5, yeah.
You better stop playing.
Give me the money.
Yeah, like that, to me, that's the crazy part, because it's like, you're not just like a role player on the team. Like, you're the face of the franchise. Like, you're literally the face of the franchise. Like, when people think of the Memphis Grizzlies right now, they think of you. So why would you be doing anything other than playing basketball, anything other than charity, anything other than being with your family, anything other than making the team and the league look good?
You need to be worried about the goddamn Warriors.
You know what I'm saying? That too. You know what I mean? Then the crazy part about it is like, none of this stuff happened on your rookie deal. When you was on your rookie deal getting paid, I believe the second overall pick gets like something like around.
I think he still is on it. I think his next deal doesn't start until next year.
Yeah. Okay. So he pretty much is getting the $20 million, I think, for the 4 years. You know what I mean? So you was able to behave yourself with that, but now that you know you got this $94 million contract coming, something like that. It's a 9-figure contract coming to you.
As the hood boy say, wait till I get my money right.
As the what? What is that, brother?
Hood booger. We'll get into that later, but like I said, we'll get into that later.
So it's like, you got to ask yourself, like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, who are you? First of all, whoever you hanging around does not have as much money as you have. There's no way they don't. They probably got a couple $100,000. They probably a known rapper down there in Memphis. I'm not trying to pick on the rappers, you know what I mean? But you know, a lot of the basketball players, they hang around the rappers when they're not hanging around the athletes. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of times the rapper, that's the street rapper. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, that's his life. That's his image. That's his brand, because he gotta, I guess, be that way, because that's what he's saying in his music. You are a professional basketball player, an NBA player. No one cares about how tough you are outside the court. I mean, people talk about all the time about how nice Tim Duncan is as a person. You know what I mean? How pleasant he was as a person. But when you talk to people who played against Tim Duncan in basketball, that's a different Tim Duncan. You know what I mean? Like, KG told a crazy story about how, like, he was trying to talk shit to him, and Tim was just smiling at him, giving him buckets. And then he looked around, and he was like, these niggas up by 20. Maybe I should just play basketball. And stop talking. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like my brother's homie went to a game, I think, when the Spurs played the Wizards, and he had like close to floor seats. And he was like, yo, Tim's game on TV looks different than it does in person. Like, you don't realize how strong he was, how powerful he was, until you see him in person doing what he does. Now you understand why the dude has 5 chips. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know, because he's gone. Yeah. But it's like, come on, bro. Like, your toughness is negated on your play as a basketball player, because that's what you do. That's what people know you for. They don't know you for shooting nobody. I don't know one dude who was running around here popping everybody, and he's still out here free, didn't tell on nobody, just got all his street cred and all his money and all his glory. It's not reality. So, like, come on, yo. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you've seen it happen over and over with Plaxico Barrett shooting himself. Shot himself right out the NFL. Then you got Gilbert Arenas, like, y'all pulling guns at each other in the locker room over, what was it, a card game, a bet or something like that? Like, come on, bro. Like it's you know, it's just certain stuff that just doesn't make sense. It's like, why do you even need to carry a gun as a professional athlete? Where are you going that you need a gun?
Security.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, go ahead, bro.
You can have security, but you know, if it was me, I probably would still carry, because you know I'm the kind of person that I like to put in my own work. But
yeah. But disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer.
Allegedly.
I like the I got a question for John Morant that the famous ET always asks everybody. What is your why? Why do you do what you do? Because if you had your why, you would have never did what you did. So I would like to know it, because just to have what you have that a lot of people dream of having and never get it, and you actually you don't just touch it, you hold it. Like, you actually have it. You wake up in it. You go to sleep in it. And you like, the dude was 17. Like 17-year-olds act dumb, and I understand. What is John Morant? 23?
Yeah, like 23.
23. I understand everybody do dumb stuff when they're young. I get it. And this is going to be a huge lesson for him to learn from, you know, because of what he did. But I would have met 200 million like endorsements. I got a sneaker. I'd have looked at a 17-year-old and said, ha, keep it moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, you just can't take stuff for granted. And you can tell that's what he's doing. Like, even how he acting, like, after games, during games, him and the whole mentality of the Grizzlies, it's like, you know, like, they try to be this tough guy. Like, y'all really ain't that. Especially Dylan Brooks. Like, y'all really ain't that. So it's like, just play basketball and be as great as you can be. Like,
you there.
Yeah, like, what's the point?
You're there.
What's the point of all this dumb stuff? Like, social media get you in trouble. Like,
yeah, speaking of Dylan Brooks, I'm like, my thing is, man, like, speaking of that, like, you just play the game. Like I said, none of y'all the bad boys. This ain't shit 80s basketball. We not out here fighting all that stuff. Because any day when it come down to it, maybe y'all want to swing against each other, bro. Y'all all say it too. Like, just play ball. Like, and like I said, that's gonna get you nowhere. Like, focus on the court. Like I said, the teams that's beating y'all now, they getting y'all. They y'all mentally. Y'all weak minded at the end of the day too. Like, you can look at it that.
I think that speaks to a lot of their age. Because how old is Dylan Brooks?
He's probably like 24, 25.
So they're all fairly 20s. So I think that has a lot to do with their age group. Yeah, they're tough. Yeah, you know, they can run up and down the floor, you know, on the basketball court. But off the court, you're not. I highly doubt any of y'all about that life, because if any of y'all were, you wouldn't be in the NBA. Because I was listening to, I forget who it was. It might have been Stephen A. Smith or Skip or Shannon. They were saying how the background checks are in the NBA before you are drafted, when a team thinks that you're going to draft them, and you know, the things in the process that you go through is a crazy process. So if you have a crazy background, you know, you usually ain't going to be there. Mm-hmm. So I just think that, you know, he just, once again, it's a lesson, and you know, should take it as such.
And even still, like, you blessed with this opportunity for a reason, like, to improve your family, to improve yourself and your well-being and stuff in generations to come. So, like, don't waste that, because that's what you're doing right now. Like, you're wasting it by playing on the internet. What you playing on the internet for? Like,
Don't even be on the internet.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
Well, I mean, like you said,
I ain't on the internet now.
as you said, like y'all said, y'all harp on that. You have the opportunity that most men don't get nowadays. Young fellas, like young black men, especially that, man. Like, you have, like I said, a father figure around. Like, what is your father teaching? What if people around you influence you? Like I said, his dad must be his friend to me. Like I said, shit, that was my dad. He would tell me, look here, nigga, you better focus on this goddamn basketball. Like, I don't understand. Like Father's not being father, like you being his friend. Like, stop kind of hold his hand in this situation. Tell him like, yo, get your shit together, or you can be out the league. Basically, like you said, he's the meal ticket. Basically, you're the golden ticket. Like, why mess that up? Like, he mess up relationships with other people now because now people can't trust you now. People want to like be near. Like, they go Ja Morant. Well, sure you want to mess with him? I don't know about that. Like he sure into that same stuff. Like once you get a persona or a stain on you, it stay with you for your whole career.
I don't want people to second guess.
Yeah, they always gonna second because my thing. Look how you look. Basically, you don't look the modern day fit of I guess how the people when you look at the NBA. Like you know what I mean? You look like I said. You look like you want to. Maybe you may have a thug look, but you're not the thug person. Basically, just play ball.
And if you look at LeBron been king of the NBA for 20 plus years, like 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
See a big stir. It's over. King of mine. I'm just saying, like you look at like how LeBron came up, you could tell that's somebody who really came from struggle. Like people like Ja Morant, like you could tell he didn't really come from struggle, but he's trying to be something that he's not. Basically, LeBron he came from the gutter, so he's like, I don't want to go back to that, so I move different. And you see how the effect that it has on him, his family, his community, basketball community, people around the world. So I don't know what Ja Morant really want to do, but for me, that's a good blueprint right there as an overall man.
I mean, and the funny thing about it is, like, when you sit back and you think about it, right, it's like the white players don't do this shit. Like JJ Redick was in the league for 13 years. You never heard a peep about him doing nothing other than play basketball. Like Dirk Nowitzki played, 20 years, 19 seasons with the Dallas Mavericks? Did you ever hear a single peep about him doing anything other than just playing basketball?
How many years the Birdman play?
Birdman, who was tatted like a mug. Like, Birdman had probably more tats than anybody in the league before John Wall started getting himself done up. But you never heard about him doing anything other than just hooping, I think. You know what I mean? So it's like why do we as a people get this opportunity and then just all of a sudden try to be something that we not? Like,
it's the mentality, man. My thing is you have to break the mentality, and nobody's breaking that mold. And nobody's in the league structure and telling these guys like, yo, don't do this. Like, where are the mentors of the league? And telling these guys like, you don't want to be this. Like I said, they're example of players that have been kicked out of the league. Like I said, look at somebody like Tyreek Evans, something like that. Like, look at the examples of people ahead of you. Like, you have to stay the course. Basically, you off the course, you gonna end up being out the league. Like I said, it's a done league. Look, the next player is 5 seconds away from you, right over your shoulder. They gonna get somebody that can beat you. It's 10 of you out there basically looking for the same deal. It might not be here, it might be in Europe, basically. Like I said, it's other players that one day way better and humble.
So you said a mentor, huh? Oh, like Udonis Haslem? That's a great
Here we go with it.
Yo, you walk right into that.
That's your man. UD. My man been in the league 20 years on the bench.
Yeah, I just want to confirm that brother is retiring. Thank God. Hey, get out of here. Mr. 430 Udonis Haslem. Okay, all right.
Yo.
That's all right.
You about to be a GM. Don't worry about it.
Look, yup.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Assistant coach, something. He gonna do something. He's equipped.
Ain't nobody worried about no damn Udonis Haslem. Ain't worried about him.
King of Miami, man. Stop it.
You know what it is.
He ain't no king to me.
I mean, but you gotta, I mean, I just take a look at that type of stuff because I'm like, when do we get to the point where we just mature and just say, yo, like, just because that's what the media keeps showing me does not mean that's what I have to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened to just being a man and just standing for what you stand for? Like, you don't gotta be a thug to be a tough guy. You can just be a straight up man and just stand for what you stand for and handle your business. You know what I mean? You could be a business guy and still be a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be clean cut and still be a man. Like, you could be a guy who just stays out the way and still be a man. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be like try to be street or try to be like a rapper. Like it makes no sense.
Another example, young man from Emotep. I mean, he ranked. What is he ranked? Number 3 or 4 in the country. Like, he about to come up. Well, he's ranked number 1 actually, right?
I think he's like number 2 or 3.
Number 2 or 3. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, he in the 2024 draft, he projected to go top 5. So, you know, he came from a single parent household. You know what I mean?
Tough.
Doing his thing, like he put the grind in.
Yeah, 6'7"
better.
player.
Battery in the back. Just one parent was it? Probably his mom, right?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Look at his mom. Yep.
Yeah.
16 hours, 2 jobs. Like,
Oh man.
that's what I'm saying. You playing around, John Morant. Like, there's people coming up ready to take your spot. So
You had a 2-parent household. Clarence, you had a 2-parent household.
but where y'all think that like mentality come from? Like, do it start in high school basketball? Like, did it come up in NCAA with all the fame and notoriety that he's getting?
You mean like the street stuff about trying to be street, or just like?
I'm just talking about in general, like the mentality of the young player, not really like
Adjusting?
not adjusting, but not really. They actually take it for granted, so not really like, you know, taking it for what it is and
Not humbling
not
themselves.
being humble, basically.
I think it starts in college with the notoriety and the fans and everybody telling you this and you that. But I think it gets a lot worse when that paycheck hits. When that paycheck hits, it's like, all right, it was real before, but now it's real. So you now, and money. What they say, money don't change you. It amplifies. What do you say, Rick?
Makes you more what you are.
Yeah. So I believe he probably was already that way. It just, turned it up to 10.
I think it's the difference between being arrogant, like I said, and also being a dickhead. That's put like this. He hits the point where it's like, come on, bro, you gotta know that stuff. Like I said, all that stuff with that is, like I said, you have to look from. Like I said, I keep it hard on it. You gotta look on people ahead of you, like, well, all right, well, not somebody like Mike, maybe LeBron, or somebody like Dwayne Wade, like somebody that's actually good at stay out of trouble, basically. My thing is, I don't want to be them, I want to be my own man. I understand that, but if you don't know things, you gotta ask questions. Like I said, where's the mentor? Where's the person on the team? Like, yo, don't do that in third. And we all young, like, man, I ain't listening to this dude. Like, he old as hell. What he gonna tell me? I'm in my lane. And like I said, once you in that age, you feel like, man, you can't tell me nothing. Like I am who I am, basically. But after a while, you get older, you be like, dang, progress. You start looking at your shoulder, like, well, who coming, basically, like in the draft. It's like you have to like always keep that mentality, like, yo, somebody over my shoulder. I'm going hard, basically. Next man's not taking you out. I'm going. Keep moving. Like, I'm gonna be the best. Like, nobody has that quote unquote Mamba mentality. Everybody has the feel like, I'm just doing this to me. Like, that's something real. And the thing is, like, Kobe dying basically is like, that's hard.
Yeah, I agree with Brandon saying. Like you said, I think the league as a whole, as far as the young players and the people coming up after Kobe died, lost a lot. Because I'm saying you can still emulate your off the court and on the court life after him, but just the information and the things that he had and the things he could teach you and the ways is you won't get it straight from the horse's mouth. So only thing you can rely on is tape, YouTube, and hopefully understand and get it. But like Aaron said before, you still got a template that is alive, believe it or not, in LeBron, and he's not my king. But you can still get stuff from him. I clown LeBron all the time. It's just it is. But he does have valuable information that you can get from him, even if you're just watching, to know how you need to move off the court.
Yeah, but LeBron is just one player. Like, who are some of the players around the league that you can basically go to? Because a lot of times, like, the young players, they don't really respect what you're saying if they don't feel like you better than them.
But does he have any veterans on that team?
Steven Adams. I mean, I don't know.
But them two are not relatable. Let's say, like, not to say like that. They don't have nobody. Like, most of their star players are all young, basically. Like him, between Jarrett Jack, Desmond Bain, and Dylan Brooks, they all the same age. Like, so it's like it's a team full of young players. Like, you need that. Most teams have older veterans. Like, look at a team like Golden State and look like Boston or Milwaukee. Like, they have those veteran players that are like, all right, well, look here, young fella. This is what they do in the third. Like, they don't have that. They feel like, well, we a young squad. What y'all gonna tell us? We made it here. Like, nah, but you need somebody to teach you to go through steps in life or steps in the game that you ain't been at yet. You haven't achieved this level yet. This is what you do.
So that's where you gotta ask yourself, like, what's John Morant's relationships like with other players in the NBA? Because one thing that's worth more than money is relationships. Because
That's definitely true.
relationships get you in rooms that money can't, basically.
Yeah, for sure. All that was just a great segue into the last segment, which is talking about pop culture. Because what it seems like is like this generation of young people that are coming up, they have all the fearlessness in the world, meaning like they're not afraid to take on life or to take on, what comes with being an adult. But at the same time, they're kind of arrogant. They don't take value in the people that came before them and what they can learn from them. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that looks like just like a slippery slope into us no longer being the powerhouse in the world that we used to be as a country. Because, like I said, the good old boys is getting old. They one foot in the grave. You know what I mean? Like our generation, like the ones that are adults now that are like working their way up the ladder to be the top guys in their fields. We don't want no smoke with some of these other countries when it comes to the BS because we know what it is. Because a lot of us travel. We see that countries like Germany have free college. You know what I mean? If you didn't know that, people that listen to this podcast in Germany, you literally go to college for free if you're a citizen. You don't pay for it. But the catch is they're not promising you a job. They're not promising you that you're going to get a job in your field. But they will educate you if you want to learn. Whereas here, you have to pay for college and you're not promised a job. So tell me how it makes sense. You know what I mean? And you have places like Canada where they have a systematic healthcare system, which we don't have in terms of you don't pay for the medicine. You don't pay for the treatment. It comes out of your taxes. Granted, their taxes are high as hell, but you see where the money's going. So what would you rather have? High-ass taxes and notice you have free healthcare, or high-ass taxes, you don't know where the money's going, which is what our situation is. You know what I mean? Like you have to just weigh your cons. On top of the fact that they also have government maternity and paternity leave where the women get a year with pay and the men get 6 months. You know what I mean? So that you have time to bond with your actual newborn child and take care of the things you need to take care of. You know what I mean? So you can kind of see that the way this country's going with how it's already been established and with the way these young people are moving, how they're acting, how they're thinking, there's going to be a lot of mistakes made by that next generation before they mature that I don't know if America can afford to have them make these mistakes and have to learn later in life when it's probably too late and we're not the number one country anymore. You know what I mean? But, hey.
I agree with what he said. He kind of stole my line. But it's all right. It's cool. But I agree with it. But as far as us, as far as a country, I believe in a long run that we probably be all right in a lot of things. But as far as the taxes go, yeah, our taxes is high as hell, and it don't seem like we get anything for it. But I think a lot of pop culture. I think a lot of the problems with pop culture is, believe it or not, social media. And me personally, I don't have social media. I think it's more problems than it's worth. That that doesn't mean that it's not used for anything positive. I just think it's more negatives than positives. But some people use it for business. Some people use it for whatever they like to use it for, entertainment. But as far as younger generations, as far as young people, some of them aren't mature enough to handle it. So it kind of hurts them in as far as their life stages in development. And when they get older, it rears its ugly head, and it shows that it's not that it didn't help you in your younger years.
Well, now that you bring up social media, so with the John Moran situation, I'll go back to it, but it's just an example. So I think what got him in trouble is the social media. So how do you guys think like this affects us? Social media affects us mentally as far as clout chasing, or just some of the positive things that social media can bring to with the connectivity. So what do you guys think?
I feel like social media, this is what I get to. This is one of my topics I always discuss. Social media, it's a profit benefit. Like I said, at the end of the day, people need social media to a certain point, but it's like, all right, the thing is, it's beneficial to it, but it's not. My thing is, you got kids that can't live without social media. We're one of the last generations that can live without social media. My thing is, you have to know when to turn it on, turn it off. And the thing is, it's good for you certain things, but social media opens a lot of wounds that people don't want to see. So my thing is, what are you using it for? Like I said, it's hard. My thing is, you should have a certain time where you can turn your phone off, not look at social media, but you can't live without it because it's addiction, it's a high, it's a feel like, but then I look at this like, and then the thing is, you're always looking at what if, or you're comparing yourself to it, and it's like, the thing I say is social media open loopholes to points where you can't, I couldn't obtain this back in the day where I was just outside, but now I can look to see far beyond and like what's obtainable, what's the touch. It's like now it's like there's no boundaries, no limits, nothing. Before then, with social media, I couldn't see all these girls back then. I would have to go outside. Now I can be on my phone. I can look, oh, this, that, and third. Now it grabs your attention to a certain point.
I believe he's correct in that aspect because that's a lot of the negatives about social media. And like I said, it does have positives and good benefits. But like I said, as far as the young people, I don't think they should have it because they're not mature enough. They're not ready. And
goddamn TikTok.
Oh yeah, especially TikTok. And then the things you see on there, and especially in today's world, there's no. Like you said, there's no boundaries. Then you got kids seeing stuff they shouldn't see. When I was a kid, we couldn't look at stuff. Man, I couldn't see a rated R movie. DMX is one of my favorite rappers, and I had to buy the clean version.
Oh my god! Listen, it's so clean, it's crazy.
Yeah, listen, clean does you no benefits. But I was young. My people in my family was like, no, you're not ready for this. So I'm glad that I had people in my life, as far as men, black men, that tell me that I wasn't ready for that. And then when I got a certain age, that I could listen to it, and then I absorbed it better. But these kids nowadays, they're just absorbing. They're not, no matter if it's good, bad, no matter if it's good for them, no matter if it's if they're ready for it or not ready for it, they're just taking it all in.
That's where it's important to have structure in your family unit, and I guess at the sponge stages of children's lives and just adolescent stages, it's important to feed your kids with the right things mentally and put in their vicinity like stuff they can learn from that's positive. So
my thing with social media, like I said, it shouldn't be to the point where a 5-year-old can know how to access certain things, or the fact that like I shouldn't be at 10 years old and see it on social media, see a girl shaking her behind or like that. Like there's no rated systems on it now. Like I said, a 5-year-old can know how to shoot a gun, can know how to shake her ass, sell, do whatever. They're like it's too much stuff to the point where children undress. Like I said, where are the boundaries to the point where, say, your children? Like I said, social media is raising the kids nowadays. Like the thing is, the parents are like, well, look, if I just give them a little laptop or I give them an iPad, so and so will sit down basically. Like that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a kind of like it takes a unit to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a children basically.
And that's a good point, man, about the whole like sliding your child to iPad thing, because your child is going to be who you design them to be at a certain age. Because I think they say like the first 7 to 10 years, you can really mold them into who they're going to be as a person. Like my older son, who's turning 7, probably reads on like a 5th grade level when he's in 1st grade, but because we slid him the iPad, but we had him watch educational things, which got him down a rabbit hole to looking at science, looking at the solar system, looking at,
Y'all had parental control, right?
Yeah,
you had
absolutely,
certain things set up. So this is structured to be this way, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of parents don't have that. Like I know parents with kids, and they can't live without an iPad. The second you take it away from them, they falling apart. They falling down. It's like, oh my God, I can't live without it. It's like, listen, there's other things you can do. And they don't know how to do anything else, because once they get that iPad, it's gold.
I just want to say, with respect to parents out there, I know that a lot of parents is dealing with stuff that they wasn't taught as kids, or maybe they grew up certain ways, and it's passing down to next generations. But you just gotta be cognizant of what you're doing and how you're raising your kids, basically.
Yeah, but they're adults.
Yeah, they're adults, but everybody went through certain traumas and shit like that. So it's like,
yeah.
You learn better, you do better. They those type of people didn't learn like better, basically.
The trauma that I feel like I said, also the thing is, our parents didn't want how to deal with as far as like mental health. So the thing is, like, you can't get to the point where you're like, oh, but there's only way I deal with it. There's other ways to deal with certain things and passing down bad habits to your children to the point where, like, all right, that's all I know. Back then, they didn't reach out for help, basically. Nowadays, it's easier to do it, but the thing is, people want to admit to it, like, we had mental health problems. Like, our parents had that. It was weak to say back then, man, I'm feeling weak, or like, you had to. Like, it plays a big factor on a person's life now because you're passing down from generation to generation, and there's no breaking the core, cutting the string off, basically, cutting the bill. Like there's nothing to cut, basically. There's nothing to tell. Like, all right, look, we're gonna stop here. Basically, we're gonna get help and seek what it is. I mean, it happens with everybody. I mean, you have to be willing to say, I need help.
Why don't people ask for help? That's the question.
I think that's all ego inspired. You know what I mean? Like, but you can't know everything, fam. Like you gotta learn from somebody. You know, there's always stuff to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like my wife is trying to tell Aaron to teach me how to cook. Right? She just told me that in the text just now. You know what I mean? And I'm not too proud to ask because that the shit he made was delicious. You know what I mean? It was on point. It was on point. Go ahead, Brandon.
It's a good thing you said it because, like, in my household, like, me and my wife take turns cooking. Like, I had to, like, when I got a litter, it was like, all right, you know how to cook. Huh? Basic stuff. I mean, it's just basic stuff. Like, look, I ain't gonna lie to you. I cook basic stuff. So, I mean, look, she told, I mean, like I said, we take our turns, basically. Like, it's her night to cook, my night to cook. Like, I feel like that kind of stuff helps you out, too, as a man. Like, I told her, like, I can cook certain things. I'm like, all right, cool. When she not there, I can kind of cook myself. Like, if she going on vacation, I'm like, look, I don't need you. But then my thing also, too, is like, it gets point to become lazy. Like, no, look here, fam. Look, we going to take turns, but still, need to cook too. So, but like I said, cooking is cool. I mean, it's certain things you got to be willing to do as a man. Taking, like, all right, put your pride aside, kind of like that.
And, like, you can't be a lazy parent, period. You can't just send your kid to school and think that's the only teaching they need to get. You still have to teach your kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just have your kid, play a sport and then think that one coach he has is the only coach he's going to need. If you know the sport, teach the kid the sport too. If you don't know the sport, you know somebody who knows the sport, make sure that person gets in touch with your kid so your kid can learn. It's like people think they can do the minimum and they expect to get the maximum out of their child, and that's not reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's too many people being lazy with their parenting, and you're starting to see it. You know what I mean? Like, whether people realize it or not, music is a driving force in culture. It's a driving force in how your children think. It's a driving force in how they operate. The stuff that's going on now, especially in the city of Philadelphia, where the youth are out here killing each other, robbing cars, sticking people up. I mean, you got to keep it 100. Listen to the music that's popular right now. It's the kind of stuff that kind of makes you want to do that if you're simple-minded, basic-minded, weak-minded. You know what I mean? When we were kids growing up, it was gangster rap. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff was going on in our age group at that time, motivated by the music. You can't tell me listening to DMX, you know what I mean, like the intro to off the first album, they ain't make you want to whoop somebody's ass. You know what I mean? The way the drums come in, like Dame Grease killed that record, by the way, as far as the beat go. But how that beat come on, and then accent, why must she be hard-headed? Why? You know what I mean? Like, and then the beat drop and he go ham. Like, they make you want to go in. Like, it's music.
And I can speak on that, man, because like I said, I was in college, man. I wanted to be Lupe Fiasco. Like, that shit was cool. Like, it was cool to kick push. Like, I was kicking push. It was cool. Like, it's nothing wrong with it having an influence. Like I said, it was certain things inspired to be a good thing. Like I said, you have to kind of separate the two. Like, all right, this is not me, basically. But like I said, people don't know how to do that. People want, like, it's just kind of like, well, this is what I'm going to be. Nah, it's not you. Don't betray that image. Like,
I got a question for y'all. Shoot. As far as parenting,
oh man,
what are the jobs of a parent now? The jobs of a female and the job of a male. What's the responsibilities of the dad? Let's start with that.
I think the responsibilities of the dad are to teach the child discipline, to teach the child structure, to teach them how to carry themselves when they leave the house, and how, you know what I mean, when they're in the presence of other people. You know what I mean? Like, your child has to learn ethics and things like that from their father, whether it's a male or female child. You know what I mean? From a male perspective, it's like seeing your father get up and go to work every day will make sure that your child understands the value of hard work and putting the grind on. And from a female perspective, I believe she knows what type of man she wants to get in life. Because she saw her dad get up and go to work and go put work in. You know what I mean? She's not going to settle for the lazy guy that's just trying. You know what I mean? Or the guy that's between jobs or between careers, like, because her dad was always on point. So that's what she models the guy she wants after her dad. The man himself models himself after his father so that he can attract the type of woman that's looking for that. You know what I mean? In my opinion, like, that's, and then from a mother's perspective, it's nurturing. It's making sure the child understands that they're loved, that they're cared for, that if there's a problem psychologically, mentally, you can come to me because I can help you get through it. You know what I mean? At the same time, I can relate to your dad what's going on, so he can do his job on his aspect of the side of it. You know what I mean? I don't think a mother's job is to try to be tough for the child. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, when it's a single parent dynamic, it can flip flop either way. Like, you can't have too much of both. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have the mom try to be the dad too at the same time, because it's never going to be right, because she's still a woman. You see a lot of guys out here arguing and getting in anger management situations where they're arguing with the girl and they're going voice for voice with the chick. And it's like, yo, that's not what men do. We don't sit there and we just argue with you and scream at the top of our lungs. That's not how we address our issue. That's not how we deal with problems. But how do you teach a guy that who only had his mom, only had his grandma, only had his aunt? Same thing with a woman. If she's just raised by her dad and her mom, or there's no female aspect there, she might be a little too rough. You know what I mean? Now you trying to be the romance dude. She looking at you like, oh, that's kind of corny. Why are we going to, you know what I mean? You thought she was being fly, taking her to Roof Chris or something. You know what I'm saying? She like, nah, let's just go to the game, get a hot dog. And you wasn't expecting that. You know what I mean? So it's like you need a little mix of both. You know what I mean? Like, that's, you know, one of y'all can elaborate. You know, like, you know, whoever went the floor. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, it's just important to know yourself, and then with that, do everything with intention. Like, you don't want to just be out here, you know, doing your thing and just messing up, basically, and having an accident child. You want to plan the child. You want to, you know, do everything you can to raise the child properly and instill certain values in them so we can have a better community and world, basically.
Well, I mean, this is our first podcast. You know what I mean? We coming down to the end now.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? I think we did a pretty good job. You know, it's on the route, episode 1. Believe it or not, episode 1. You know what I mean? We got my man B. Morton over here, my man Black, my man Aaron, and then this is your engineer, guy talking on the microphone right now, Rick Shine. You know what I mean? If you guys like this, please, like I said before, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. You know, please comment too. We want to know what you guys think. You know, we're going to try to post this on SoundCloud. We're going to try to post it on YouTube. We're going to try to post it in the USPS Reddit page, hopefully. You know, Reddit's a little crazy with their little restrictions. But maybe, you know, the moderators from the Reddit page will give us a pass. You know what I mean? I'm talking to you, USPS Reddit page. Give us a pass. We are mail carriers. You know what I mean? Just in case you think we were lying, we know about pivots and V-time and PDIs and whatnot.
I know what it is. You can't spell pivot without what?
OT. All right, y'all. We signing off.
Do it.